Good morning. This is Cecil and Blues. Thank you for joining me for this Final Fantasy XIV video. Live Letter 34 was broadcast from the stage at the Tokyo Fan Festival on the evening of December 23rd, at least from the perspective of us stateside players. It focused entirely on patch 3.5 and contained no new information about the upcoming expansion. The letter started out showing off some new features that are coming to the idle camera in 3.5, and that's cool. I honestly think that the idle camera is an interesting community tool, and I'm glad that it continues to get support. After some goofing around with it, Yoshida went into a recap of Live Letter 33 and laid out the known content coming in patch 3.5, which is releasing on January 17th, in case you needed a reminder. He followed it up by setting up the release date for patch 3.5 Part 2, which will be in March, which is significant because it means that it will be after the European Fan Festival, which means the live letter that is broadcast from that stage is likely to be focused on Heavensward content instead of Stormblood content. Now, based on my understanding, there is not a second story sequence in patch 3.5 like there was in 2.5. That may be the case. They may be keeping it close to the breast right now. I guess we'll find out as time progresses. But for now, let's move on. The next thing they covered was something that may not matter to English audiences. It was about a TV miniseries based on a project called The Father of Light, which, based on my research, is a web series about an adult son playing Final Fantasy with his 60-year-old father, which is cool, but it's going to be a documentary, and I don't know that it will be released to English audiences. It's particularly interesting to me if this is like something that was picked up by a Japanese TV network, not like independent of Square Enix, meaning that this kind of shows the societal impact, the cultural impact that Final Fantasy XIV has in Japan, which is significant and cool. But again, I don't think it actually matters to us English players. So let's move on. They went to some game footage. It showed Yoshi P's house in-game, and there were a lot of paintings there. They look nice, as they covered in the previous live letter. These are earned through the exploration nodes that were in A Realm Reborn. I don't know if they're going to also use the huge number of exploration nodes that are present in Heavensward, but the pictures seem to come in multiple sizes. I don't know if that's dependent on the item itself or if they can be resized. Next, we got a preview of the first phase of the Demon. While previewing that, Yoshi P explained that this was going to be the most difficult extreme fight in Heavensward. That not only is it going to be harder than the previous trial, but it will in fact be harder than the most difficult section of the Alexander raid. So, like, highly skilled players are probably really going to be excited about this, especially considering that tuning can't be pushed too far because, you know, our gear limits are kind of pushed up against their maximum right now. You know, we're not going to be getting a significant boost to our damage any higher than where we are right now. The new raid coming in is just going to introduce supplementary gear that actually will be lower. Like, we can buff all our tombstone gear up by another 10 points, but the stuff that's going to drop out of the upcoming 24-man raid is just going to be at where we're at right now. So I think that's cool. I think that's a great challenge to give to players who are interested in that, to kind of hold them over until the next expansion. The next stop on our tour is the first boss in the upcoming 24-man raid, Dun Saith, which appears to be Deathgaze. This is a boss who has appeared in several Final Fantasy games over the years, but is probably most well known for his appearance in Final Fantasy VI. We were also shown a bit more of the environment in Dun Saith, and it looks fine. It's not blowing me away. Listen, 24-man raids come down to just the bosses and how well they're balanced, and how much fun they are to fight for a team of randos. Weeping City was really well balanced, I thought, so I have high hopes for Done Safe. I'm looking forward to it. The next segment focused on the renewal of the exploratory missions as covered in the last live letter. As they mentioned before, as of 3.5, the old exploratory missions are going away. You will not be able to queue up for them anymore. They noted that the materials that you can currently acquire only through the diadem currently will be obtainable through other means as of 3.5. If I had to guess, I'd assume that you'll be able to buy them with tomestones, but it may also be or alternatively come from the Moogle vendor. I guess we will find out when the patch notes roll in. The changes to the exploratory missions are really significant. Like, they're intense, and we covered them a bit in the last live letter, but there's going to be 2 different branches. You can go in as a gatherer, or you can go in for a hunt party. You'll be able to fly right off the bat, and there'll be different challenges around the zone, and when you complete all the objectives, you'll be given a reward. It's significant. It's a big change, and I'll be honest, since I have such minimal experience with the diadem, it always just seemed too involved for my style of play, and hard for me to get into, so it's difficult for me to recognize if these changes are designed to appeal to a player like me, who like often is by myself or playing with just a small group of friends, or if these changes are designed to enhance the experience for large guilds who maybe weren't feeling that the diadem was actually rewarding enough to put in the necessary time and effort. I will have to kind of just lean on other fan sites and fan reporters for what they think about it. Personally, I liked the idea of an area that was designed for large guilds to participate in guild-level content that was kind of inaccessible to the casual player, and as long as all of the rewards that came from it could be sold back to the community at large. It wasn't something that I was interested in, but I think it would have been a fine addition to the game for players who wanted at least, a small taste, a way to recapture that Final Fantasy XI experience. Again, I'm not interested in that anymore. It's just not what I want out of MMOs, but I thought it might have been possible to kind of like wrap it up and kind of put it into Final Fantasy XIV as its separate little piece. But maybe that just didn't work out, or maybe they're fixing it. I guess we'll find out a little bit more, or maybe like it could just be my inexperience. Maybe we totally know what's going on, but I don't, so I apologize. We'll have to wait I'll have to wait to get my hands on it and take a closer look. Yoshi P then presented some concept art, as he often does. The first piece that he showed was some seasonal event dresses. Based on their appearance, I'm gonna guess that they are part of the New Year's Day holiday event, but they didn't straight up translate it. There's not a forum post like there usually is with these live letters, so I don't have anything to go off of, so I'm just basing it on their appearance. They looked like they were New Year's dresses. He had a second piece of concept art, I'm pretty sure, but I forgot what it was, and I forgot to write it in my notes, so we're gonna just have to pretend there was only one piece of paper. Let's move on. He returned to some live game footage, and they showed off a new dancing and singing emote. It was very reminiscent of the Bard song from Final Fantasy XI. I couldn't hear if there was any audio component, or if it was just a visual emote. I'm excited. I played Bard in Final Fantasy XI. I think that's a fun addition, so I'm glad to see it. The special guest for this stream was one of the special guest designers that they had introduced in the keynote address. I forgot to write down his name in this section of my notes, but it was the director of the live-action Japanese series Garo. Now, normally I completely tune out when the special guests show up because they speak in Japanese and they very rarely translate this section of the presentation even when they are doing an official translation. So I normally just kind of tune out. But I kept the window open this time, and I'm glad I did, because near the end of the event, they announced a new crossover for Final Fantasy XIV with that series, Garo. And again, I've never heard of Garo before. If you're unfamiliar with it, it is a Japanese Sentai series with an S, which is people transforming and fighting with kung fu and awesome superpowers. Very much Power Rangers. Another series that this gentleman worked on was Kamen Rider. But Garo is a current project, and we will get a feature, we will get a set of cosmetic armor. There is a different set for all of the classes in the game. The cooler armors, to be honest, were for people who wear actual armor, so your tanks, dragoons, ninja for some reason, all have like really awesome Power Ranger type gear. And then other classes are they kind of wearing robes and trench coats and stuff. All in all, I think it's a great set. It looks like they include weapons. There's also going to be mounts. The video that announced this is really cool. Like, I will put a link to it down in the video description, but you can find it on Square's official page or their official YouTube channel. There will be ways to earn the rewards through the Gold Saucer and through PvP. But it's important to note that the PvP versions of the armors are going to be the only ones that can be dyed, so they're going to definitely be more sought after. This event is definitely designed to try and get more players to check out PvP in Heaven's Ward and the changes that they put placed. Maybe this will finally get me to do that, depending on how frustrating it is to get in there. If I give it a shot and it's just like brutal and unpleasant, then I guess I won't be doing that. But if it does introduce me to PvP in a way that's fun, then hey, maybe I'll start PvPing in Final Fantasy. Not likely, but I may PvP at least enough to get my armor. Alright, even though I do not have an idea what Garo is, I'm pretty excited for this event. I don't know if it's carried on Crunchyroll. Maybe I'll look it up. Maybe I'll check this series out. Now that would definitely be an example of a crossover working. If it gets a bunch of English people to hear about a series they've never heard about before and go start watching it, good deal. Alright, that is the end of the live letter. It was not particularly long. I probably rambled a little bit longer than I needed to. Not a ton of new information. They continued to hype up the crowd for the Garo crossover. They brought out cosplayers and they did some stage fighting, and the ninja guy was totally hamming it up. They pimped out merchandise that they were going to be selling on site, but no more details were provided about the patch. The next big event that we're going to have for patch 3.5 will be the features trailer, which I imagine will show up sometime next week. And then after that, we'll get patch notes probably a week afterwards, probably the Friday or Thursday before the release date, and then we'll be playing it. So once we're playing 3.5, we will learn firsthand how it ties into Stormblood, and then it's gonna be twiddle our thumbs for 3 months, and then we'll be able to play Stormblood. So I mean, that's it for today. I'm excited. I'm excited for all the upcoming content, but I can't say I'm exceptionally thrilled with the density of new information we got today. It was kind of light. It was really, honestly, like 5 pieces of information, and I still managed to talk about them for combined total an hour, but I would have liked more density. I'm very spoiled with how BlizzCon works. But then again, BlizzCon only happens over one weekend, where the FanFest happens over 3 weekends, so that could have an impact. I thank you for tuning in, and I hope you have a great day and a fantastic holiday with your family, and we will see you in January.